And the Nocturne ban is the other ban. So Nocturne and Anivia out of the pool so far. We're going to have 3 more bans per each side, which we will do in game.
Yep. So here we go. And the first ban is Kennen coming out very quickly. Kennen is a very good champion, and a lot of people, don't like to lane against Kennen, and he has that AoE ult that can stun everybody on the team. So a pretty good ban, and not an uncommon ban either. Urgot being banned out. Urgot has seen a lot of play for CLG.EU today, I believe. Actually, no, was that 1 game, 2 games that we saw Urgot from CLG.EU?
Just the 1 game.
Okay.
I think in every other game he has been banned out. He was really dominant in the 1 game that they allowed to pick him. Of course, that's the kind of issue. You have to ban out Aurelia, you have to ban out Anivia. You just have all these bans that are now banning out Alistar because Alistar wasn't incredibly effective last game, but they won. So, he was effective enough for them to get the win, but he didn't have the usual early game presence that you might think they had. The Nautilus ban comes down. So Kennen, Vladimir, Nautilus, the first 2 kind of focused at Salse, a really amazing Vladimir player, kind of renowned for that in Season 1, hasn't really been playing quite as much Season 2, and Nautilus focused after Unstoppable, who plays that in the jungle with great frequency, and we're going to see the final ban coming down from TSM.Evo, and the clock is ticking down, and slowly
Nocturne. Wait, but Nocturne was already banned.
So... Oh man, yes, Anivia, for all of those who are just tuning in, like I mentioned just about a minute ago, Anivia banned in chat, Nocturne banned in chat, so we actually have a double ban of Nocturne. I mean, there's no real rules against that, but you're kind of losing a ban.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So actually it was CLG.EU that banned out the Nocturne, and
right.
TSM.Evo, I guess, weren't paying attention to that ban, so they ended up banning out Nocturne again. So we have CLG.EU first picking. Again, it shows the CLG.NA team names, but CLG.EU is playing with the CLG.NA accounts because they do not have an actual CLG.NA account themselves.
Right. All except for Snoopy, who is the EU jungle smurf. Unfortunately, Snoopy doesn't have a lot of the champions, so we've had to remake just about every game because he locks in Eve and is just a placeholder that we remake, but we'll get the game to you very, very quickly, regardless of whether we have to remake or not. But the one thing we see is, probably, something TSM.Evo is going to regret, that Nocturne ban. Really unfortunate for them because they could have banned Shen, but instead they're allowing Shen to be on CLG.EU. And I don't think that's really a champion you want to let them have, and I was going to say, especially when combined with Karthus, there's so much global presence, but it looks like TSM.Evo is going to take that Karthus away from Froggen, and if I had my guess, I would guess that Froggen is going to play an Ahri to counter that Karthus. That would just be my guess. We will see as the picks come in fast and furious. It looks like Karthus and Janna so far.
Yep, and we actually saw an Ahri and Karthus matchup in the last game. Although I think it was Froggen playing Karthus and the Team Dynamic player, mid player, Paradoxical, playing Ahri that time.
Ahri.
Yep.
Right, and Ahri was getting the better of those battles certainly early, picked up first blood, didn't stick around too long, and then he got killed by Alistar. But when it came to late games, the teamfight presence of Karthus is just so huge. The ability to use his ultimate for other lanes is really, really great. So a great tournament pick, a great solo queue pick, a great pick all around. You can't really ever be faulted by Karthus. The one thing he doesn't do, he doesn't normally win his lane by killing the opposing AP carry. He does win his lane by out farming them. He can really easily steal Rays and Wolves from his own jungle from the opposing jungler, but he doesn't tend to pick up kills in the middle. So we'll see if that holds true, if there's a relatively passive lane from Karthus, and we'll see whether or not Froggen tries to go aggressive champion such as Ahri, who can really jump on top of Karthus and them down.
Yep, so we actually see Kog'Maw being shown, so we might see either an AP Cog or an AD Cog. We have seen Froggen play AP Cog before, and a Soraka being picked up. So Soraka, a very good champion, usually if not picked with the Karthus, is picked against the Karthus, because Soraka has that global heal to counter the Karthus global ult that hurts people. The global hurt as opposed to global heal, global damage.
Right. Global heal against the global hurt. Do you happen to have Skype open, Zero?
No, I do not.
Oh, okay. So people were saying that my voice was, or league was going down in volume when I was talking, which tends to be a Skype related thing. But yeah, I'm really interested in seeing whether that is an AP Kog'Maw or an AD Kog'Maw. We haven't seen too many AD Kog'Maws in tournaments lately. I feel like he's kind of gotten the short end of the stick in the selections there, and it looks like on the other side, TSM.Evo might be picking up an Olaf. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see. You can always switch it until the last moment.
Yep, so Olaf being shown right now, and we have about 5 more seconds before the last pick, and Ashe is being shown. So Ashe Janna is a pretty popular lane actually. It has good poke and can allow, Janna can really help Ashe get that farm to be really strong in the late game.
Right, and they just have so much CC and so much utility for the rest of their team, and then you have enough damage overall between Karthus and Olaf coming down. You don't need the most damaging champions down bottom lane, so like for instance you could go Leona, and basically everyone does more damage than Ashe, but she just provides so much utility. I'm hearing that you just need to turn your music off. I'm getting conflicting reports, but we'll try to figure out the audio situation as soon as possible.
So I'll try to figure out that once we have all the picks and we have our little 3-minute period, or if we need to remake, I'll try to figure that out during then. But for now, I'll just try to bring you these picks and bans, and we see Eve, and that could just be because we have a he doesn't have the champions, so that's just a placeholder.
Yeah, that is just a placeholder. We've seen that just about every game. Apparently, Snoopy only has jungle champions on that account and has not been able to pick up champions for Ahri throughout. But it does look like, or for the middle champion, it does look like we are going to have an AP Kog'Maw, Ezreal bottom, and who are we waiting on? Either a top or a jungler, I suppose. And I guess I'm sure they're sharing their pick to the other team via chat, because otherwise they would have an unfair advantage this way. Because they'd be like, oh, you can't see our 4th pick, and you can't counterpick it against the 5th. But I'm sure they did share that information to the opposing team. We will learn in just a moment when this game gets remade, and it will be a kill on the other side. So Kayle, Karthus, very dominant combination for those teams. You can just ultimate Karthus, you can just run rampant, and then he's actually invincible for a total of about 10 seconds in late game team fights. Three or so while he's alive, and then an extra 7 while he's dead.
Yep. So we're just getting back into the game, and they're just repicking their champions. Meanwhile, I'm going to try to get my audio figured out. So yeah, I mean right now they're in champ select, but you're not really missing anything because they're repicking their own champions and doing out the fake bans right now.
Yes, I'm reading that it says it's because of Mumble. Other people are saying it's because of Vent, the audio ducking. I don't know. We didn't have an issue last game or with the other co-casters, so we're certainly trying to figure this out. We will figure this out before the game goes live. We are having these picks, and it is going to be very exciting. We will see in just a moment who the final pick is for CLG.EU. And Wicked making us wait, because I think it was Wicked who was going to pick up the champion. I guess he's not going to top lane with Shen, and it is a Rumble. So it's going to be Rumble versus Kayle top lane. That should be very, very exciting. Zero, did you happen to get the news from Mane on how to fix it?
No, I did not.
Okay. He said configure settings, audio output uncheck the while others talk.
Okay.
And you have to go to the advanced mode, obviously, and Mumble.
Wait, so what was it again?
The output settings, audio, Settings,
while
output.
others talk. Okay, so it should be good now.
Yeah.
Say something for
Okay,
me?
great.
Alright,
Hi,
everything's working
testing,
well.
testing. 1, 2, 3.
Great. Awesome. Sorry about that. And let me bring you back the page. So, here you go. Here are your champions. And so yeah, we see, I don't know how much you talked about it while I was trying to fix things, but we see the Shen going jungle, and we see the Kale and Rumble matchup is what we're going to see in the top lane.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good matchup. We've seen Rumble played a lot in this tournament. I think that's a sign of things to come. I've seen him a lot in high-level solo queue play. So we're going to see, Rumble being one of those standard champions, along with Malphite. And that's kind of interesting. Was Malphite banned this game? Now we have all the funny bans in, so I completely forgot the actual bans, all the funny bans and the technical difficulties, and I've forgotten whether or not Malphite was actually taken out. But Rumble is the pick. Did get picked ahead of Kale, and Wings of Death picked Kale to counter that. So we'll see if that is an effective counter or not. I'm not entirely sure how that lane is going to go. Certainly, Kale can be very aggressive early on, has that great combination with you into that Righteous Fury spam. But Rumble is just so dominant. The one thing that Rumble does have is that Equalizer. His ultimate is essentially a large chunk of burst, and if Kale can really just use their ultimate to minimize that damage, that could turn the fight in their favor. As always, top lane is about snowballing, and certainly the junglers giving the most attention up there will have the advantage.
Yep, so we have a little bit of time before we go into the game, so I'm going to play a little ad before we go. That was Arcade. That's Gaming.Stack Exchange. They changed their name to Arcade, and that's Arcade with a Q. So yeah, they are our sponsors. They sponsored the first ggClassic, and they are sponsoring us once again. So thanks to them. And check it out. They have a lot of great stuff there. And if you have any questions regarding League of Legends or other games like Diablo 3, StarCraft, anything that you want, you can go there, ask questions. People will get answers, and there's a reputation system. It's a pretty heavily moderated community, so it's a great site to check out.
Yeah, it is certainly a good site. Very fun, very interesting tidbits of information they have on there. I tend to only look for League of Legends things, but of course they have it for all games, Diablo, StarCraft 2, anything that you have in mind. They have information on and forums for. So certainly do go ahead and check that out. I am just very interested in how this game is going to play out. I think there's two things I'm really interested in. Whether or not Wicked's going to build a Frozen Heart again on Rumble, because that's what he did last time, and that might just be a feature of him being really far ahead. But I believe it was Shen, Rumble, the jungle top for them when he actually pulled out that Frozen Heart. I guess the issue was, no one else really can get that item or really would benefit as much as these two would, or as much as a bruiser / jungle type would. So he did pick up that Frozen Heart despite not getting the 500 extra mana. Alternatively, we could see it on Froggen. I just don't think that is normally part of his build. So we shall see if they get ahead, if he picks that up as his third item one more time, or if he goes the more standard Rumble build. Another thing he has really been favoring is Haunting Guise, both on Malphite and on Rumble. So we'll see if that's another pickup for Wicked. Of course, this is CLG.EU playing on CLG.NA's account, and insofar as skins, we see a shortage for CLG.EU. They do have Reindeer Kog'Maw, but TSM.Evo certainly does take the skin battle 4-1, only without a skin on Olaf.
Yep, so, I mean, the Judgment Kale, I don't know if that counts as a real skin. It's, it's the skin that you get for free. I don't know. Although, the Ezreal,
like it.
the Ezreal doesn't have a skin, and I feel like all the Ezreals that I've played or with lately have all been Pulsefire Ezreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I do not own Pulsefire. It is pretty, but I feel like one of the portions of having a skin is the exciting thing, or is the exciting part of being unique Like that seems to be what makes it worthwhile. Like you get into a game, you're the only one with that skin. But whereas with Pulsefire Ezreal, like if you're going to see another Ezreal in the game, it's most likely that he's going to have the Pulsefire Ezreal skin as well. So we do see defensive positioning from CLG.EU once again, whereas TSM.Evo really wants to go in for that aggressiveness. So we've seen this every single game where where CLG.EU plays very defensively and just kind of guards their own jungle, and on the opposing side, all of the North American teams have tried to do something a little bit different, and it's had, differing success. I guess, on the one side, the one team that really had success was Legion. They were able to pick up 2 kills early on, and that led to a victory against CLG.EU, but besides that, none of the counter-jungling attempts have been too successful. What we do see here for TSM.Evo is something that TSM has, done in very, very frequently in tournaments, and actually it was mimicked by CLG.EU, where both teams have vision of the opposing team's race. And that's helpful to see when they're doing race, but it's also very helpful to see, just keep track of their jungler, because the jungler will be going back there with frequency.
Yep, and it looks like Ashe and John are going to stick around. They know that they're here with this ward, and so maybe try to steal something with a volley, and they do actually.
Oh, they do take it.
So Shen is going to continue with the jungle, but Ashe and John are going to go back to lane, knowing that they stole that big Wraith.
Yeah, so that is a nice little chunk of gold, 33 gold, but it's also a big bonus in the sense that it, takes it away from Shen and doesn't give him that little extra bit of health that all those big minions do. So we do see Ezreal helping Shen out. Oh, he's not going to have to waste his smite, so that was good. A really strong pull from CLG.EU to the extent that, who is that rather? That is Snoopy. Isn't going to have to use a smite. They are keeping track of him, and he knows that there's actually a ward around that area, so he tries to avoid it by running around the back of his jungle. Is going to head up to blue buff with haste.
Yep.
Post haste.
And actually, Olaf also got his own blue buff without having to use his smite either. Also getting a good pull. So that means he's going to come around and try to steal this blue buff, and he actually is just going to back off. Shen was being a little bit careful, but he chooses to go back into his own jungle and maybe try to do his own red.
Yep, so the attempt was thwarted, and mid lane, it looks like it's going to just be a farm fest. That seems to be, status quo. Karthus and Kog'Maw certainly not going to be too aggressive until level 6. Meanwhile, down bottom, Aphromo really able to do a ton of damage to the opposing Soraka-Ezreal combination.
Yep, and actually,
so really
Chouster might be, or not Chouster, sorry, Crumble might be in a little bit of trouble getting a lot of damage on him, and has to use that heal on himself and uses that armor buff to get away safely. But again, Aphromo doing a great job and getting a lot of poke out.
Yeah, he's doing really stellar, and the one thing is he's running a Ghost Flash, which isn't, seen too much nowadays. Like back in Season 1, everyone ran Ghost Flash, but nowadays, you'll see one aggressive Summer Spell or Heal Flash, but the Ghost Flash is certainly going to give, Ashe great kiting ability, but
up at top we see a double gank going on. We have the inlane gank from Olaf as Shen comes in, and they're both just going to back off because they're both very scared.
Everyone had a good reason to be scared there. Everyone was getting low. The Ignite was burned from Rumble on Kayle, so Kayle did back off there. But just going to be content to farm up a little bit. Olaf, meanwhile, throwing axes into the jungle. But as I was saying beforehand, I was like, oh, if Ashe happened to have Ignite, that probably would have been a kill and first blood on Soraka. That being said, Krepo probably knew that there was no Ignite, didn't have to be quite as afraid, and didn't have to burn their flash either to get away in that instance.
Yep, and at the same time, they are getting poked down pretty hard, but they have a Soraka with them, which means they are going to be able to heal up pretty well.
Yeah, they're going to be able to heal, and especially now that Soraka has a couple levels under her belt, now that she's level 3, she's just going to be able to heal that much more. Level 1 heal, Astral Blessing, not very strong, but level 2 seems to do the trick. It actually doubles in healing amount from 70 to 140. We do see Unstoppable, though, coming in here. Oh, it's going to be a dive.
Yep, and does give first blood to Aphromo, but Ezreal might pick up the kill. He does pick up the kill, and now he's going back to the safety of this tower, getting hit a lot by Aphromo, and trying to get that last volley off, but does not hit, and now Janna coming in, trying to pick up that kill, and does, killing off the Ezreal before Ezreal can go get Aphromo, so that is a good trade for TSM.Evo.
Yeah, that is a great trade. You know, there was a number of things that could have gone differently there. You know, at the very, very end, Yellow Pete could have turned around and probably just hit Janna once, and it, you know, probably would have killed Janna because she barely got away from that turret, especially with the extra buff or the red buff slow. That would have been certainly devastating. But even had Ezreal survived, you know, despite the fact that TSM.Evo got first blood, that could have gone in their favor just because Ezreal with red buff would have been so devastating. But now they have a Janna with red buff, and that is, you know, that's not as scary as an Ezreal with red buff, but she's going to be able to, you know, kind of enforce her will on that lane, and they can continue poking, despite the fact that at this point, you know, generally a Soraka Ezreal would have the advantage. That red buff might just be enough to turn it around in TSM.Evo's favor.
Yep, and over at mid lane, again, it has been a pretty much a farm lane. Karthus is level 6 now, so he can help out other lanes with his Requiem when he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, right when I looked, was dead even on farm. Now Karthus has a couple in the lead, but certainly now that Kog'Maw's at a certain point, he can just, you know, spam down minions really easily, clear the entire wave with that ER combination. Down bottom, looks like, yeah, a little poke is going down on Ashe, but now Ashe is getting close to 6. Once they hit 6, which will be a little bit earlier than their opposition, they'll be able to be on the aggressive and really help out ganks from their jungler with that enchanting crystal arrow. Top lane, how is that looking? 27 CS to 41, so Wicked actually taking advantage there and picking up the you know, the sorcerer boots straight off the bat.
Nanyuan being a little bit aggressive here and doing a good job using that red buff to keep them away and preventing them from getting some farm, and actually forcing Ezreal to use his arcane shift to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, certainly Nanoin taking a little bit of poke, taking a little bit of damage, but meanwhile he's able to zone Ezreal out of getting farm, and then they turn into an exchange that they actually win. So certainly a good job there. Farm 22 to 49. Aphromoo, that is incredible. 25 CS ahead already, and they're just continuing to force Ezreal to back out, continuing to zone him out of that farm, and that is going to be a very, very bad thing if Ezreal can't, like, get back into these fights and be a little bit more aggressive and you know, secure some farm for him.
Yep,
and
actually, they're actually being regular, so
they're
trying to go for a kill or something here, and they're getting a lot of damage on Chaucer. Will the Karthus ultimate come down? No, it doesn't. I don't think they thought they have enough damage on to maybe get the kill, but the Karthus ultimate doesn't come down, and they are just trying to heal back up while they are being zoned out.
Yeah, it would be incredibly close, because at one point Soraka had 220 life, and Karthus does 250 plus 16. Now the ultimate's coming down. Oh, yeah,
yep, and that does pick up Soraka. So Soraka hadn't hit 6 yet, couldn't use that global heal, so that gives another kill to TSM.Evo.
Right. They just, yeah, TSM.Evo doing a great job taking every single little advantage that they possibly could. They stole that early Wraith from Shen, and then they just kind of pushed in the lane, got a little level advantage, pushed them back to their turret with that great poke from Aphromoo, and then when they got the red buff, Natawen was able to use that red buff as well to just completely zone Ezreal out of a lot of CS, and then they picked up the kill. So 59 to 33, Ezreal getting a couple more CS now, but still falling way, way behind, and is in a dangerous spot once again, is going to have to back out of here.
Yep. And it looks like there's going to be a gank top, and it looks like Kale could use that gank, but Kale isn't anywhere near Olaf, so he's trying to catch up, but it looks like Rumble's going to be able to just get away just fine.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting gank where Kale didn't want to be involved in it whatsoever, and maybe the addition to Kale would have at least forced a flash out of Wicked on Rumble. Instead, you know, he's doing just fine. He's going to be able to back up. Looks like he's going to go for that build once again. Sorcerer Shoes into Haunting Guise. Has picked up the Ruby Crystal for it, so kind of a full penetration build that he's going for, and we'll see how Kale tries to counter that. Kale does have, let's say, 51 magic resistance as is, so with the 20 magic penetration, and I think another 20 from Haunting Guise, and probably 10 in the runes of Wicked, that'll be doing, you know, Rumble will be doing essentially full damage, and that is a very, very scary thing.
And Rumble doing a pretty good job in this lane. The CS count is now 66 to 49, so that's a 17 CS lead, and Kale being forced to go for those Doran's Blades.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Doran's blades certainly are never a bad pickup. You might want to rush the bigger ticket items, but when you rush those, you leave yourself vulnerable to not attacks just from lanes, but vulnerable in team fights to just the AOE that could go down. Bottom lane, we still see a lot of aggression coming down from that Janna and Ashe combination. Just a really great job so far, and that bottom turret is actually getting very low. At the same time, it looks like Ezreal's being a little bit more aggressive now that that Astral Blessing grants a lot more armor and a lot more healing. We do see Snoopy running around. Does have that Oracle, is clearing out wards, is going to back away, not go in for the gank here, but he's also level 6, so now he's probably going to save a person from a potential...
up at top we see a gank coming down with Olaf going in. Rumble had to burn flash, but is it going to be enough? The Shen ult coming down, but Rumble dies, so Shen cannot come in time. And that gives TSM.Evo yet another kill, and that's going to really help out this top lane Kayle a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now 4-1, so essentially all the lanes have a slight advantage. Karthus picked up a kill from middle lane that gave him an advantage. Bottom lane has 2 kills between them, and now top lane is 1-1, or actually is 0-1, but has that assist, which is very nice. It's going to help him even out. It's only 8 CS down now, got a little bit of farm. Wicked, of course, on Rumble is losing a little bit of farm to his turret as we speak. And Shen, Shen was what they were counting on to kind of save people from those ganks, but his ultimate at level 6 only absorbs 250 life, and they're just able to burst on through that before anything could happen. Oh, we actually see some aggression middle lane. Salsi trying to go down on Kog'Maw, does kind of back off in the end, but Kog'Maw has to be worried because one more Q landed could turn into an ultimate and a kill.
Yep, it looks like TSM.Evo is going to group around Dragon. They have that pink ward, so they know that there are no wards from CLG.EU, but this ward here spotted them coming down to take the dragon, so the ult comes out from Ezreal, but TSM.Evo takes that fairly easily. That gives them an even bigger gold lead.
Yeah, absolutely. It is now 2.4k, 2.3, 2.4k, so that is a pretty big lead, only 12 minutes in. So not looking too good for CLG.EU at this present moment, but they do have a great late game team, and then what they also have is a great team for a poke composition with that AP Kog'Maw, with Rumble. Rumble's Equalizer really helps capitalize on poke, I feel, just because it can land it from so far away and it force people off of their turret or do a ton of damage to them. So
on the bottom we see Shen coming in for a gank. Doesn't get that taunt though, and is forced to back off.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He actually, taunted in front of Ashe. I guess he just running a little bit faster than he thought he was running and thought Ashe was going to be running faster than she did in fact run. Aphromoo did in fact pop Ghost, so 2 ghosts down, but no damage really done at bottom lane. So they're going to be able to keep the pressure up down there. It looks like Ezreal is catching up a little bit in farm. It is 102 to what is it now, 83, so just about 20 down. So that's not terrible. It's not as terrible as it was looking earlier on.
Yep, and one of the important things is that Chen with that Oracle is helping Ezreal catch back up because he's eliminating those wards, preventing Ashe from getting as aggressive as she could be.
Ooh, we see a long-range arrow coming up towards top. Is it going to hit the Rumble?
No, it's not.
No, they forced him back a little bit too much.
Chen coming around for another gank down at bot, maybe trying to get the taunt off this time, and
now he has red buff too.
Yep,
so
and he's
that'll
waiting
help.
around, still has that Oracle, so he knows that there are no wards. He's going to come around, does get the taunt on Janna this time, and now a lot of damage going down. She does use her ultimate, but Ezreal picks up the kill.
Yeah, it still had flash too. Perhaps could have flashed a little bit earlier there, but was hoping to push them back with the ultimate and then perhaps flash. But the silence may have also inhibited her. The ultimate goes down, but does not. I don't know who exactly that was targeted at. It must have been.
Yeah, I don't.
Do you know why?
No, I don't. I checked everybody, and they seemed to be at pretty high health to me, and nobody died. So I'm not sure.
I'm gonna take a look back at that. I remember. Yeah, it was just a little while ago I saw Karthus went into lane and was going to use Defile in a tournament setting, but instead of using Defile, he just procced his ultimate, so that's,
Yeah, no, I know I've done that a couple times before, so that kind of stuff happens. And in a previous game, we actually saw Nunu ult in a bush for nothing.
Right.
So mistakes do happen, so it could just be a mistake. But that Karthus ultimate coming down, and again, that is on a longer cooldown now, so he's going to have to wait a little bit longer before it comes off.
Yeah, you did check back, and he was just farming middle. May have tried to use E instead of R. Yeah, there didn't seem to be any other reason to do it. I mean, obviously harassing people down is, not a bad idea. Bottom lane, it's not going to be, super effective because Soraka can heal back up the Ezreal and herself. But against top lane, it could be, pretty good against Rumble. Rumble's how is he doing up there? 101 CS to 94 from Kale. So luckily Kale seems to have gotten a little bit of breathing room following those ganks. So it's a pretty even lane. And Rumble is going for what I like to, frame an early game build with those sorcerer boosts into that haunting guise.
Yep, so one interesting thing to note is that Kog'Maw has built into an Archangels without even upgrading his boots yet. So really rushing that Archangel as fast as he could.
Yeah, I mean, I love that pickup. For the longest time, no one really liked Archangel's staff, but the addition it gives you over just having the Tier Goddess is Tier Goddess gives you 7 mana regen per 5 seconds, whereas Archangel's staff gives you 25 mana regen per 5 seconds, and of course gives you a lot more AP as well. So, I mean, I think it's not favored over a lot of the other items because it doesn't give you defensive stats, it doesn't give you the raw power of Death Cap, but it gives you a good mixture of damage and utility.
Yep. And Shen using that Oracles to great effect, coming down bot, clearing a couple wars before backing off. Olaf seeing that Shen is bot, goes over to his top jungle and steals a big wall, puts down a ward, and then is going to back off. And actually maybe even go top to try to get a gank on Rumble.
Yeah, Olaf is a little bit ahead. He does have 2 assists and a kill, so he is actually about 200 some gold ahead. But Shen is actually, keeping up in farm, which is pretty impressive, and had picked up that earlier heart of gold. So doing a good job in the farm as, a jungler that's traditionally seen as a little bit slower and weaker than Olaf would be. And it looks like Olaf really just camping this top lane. We're going to see what they're going to be able to do here. Obviously, Kale gives you a great diving potential.
Yep, and they're actually going in. The Karthus ultimate coming out. The Shen ultimate comes in to try to help him out, and he does get there in time, but Rumble does fall, and now Olaf is really low, is going to try to get away from this Shen, but gets that slow off, but that final Vorpal Blade does pick him off.
Yep, so we saw all the globals used there. A good dive. I mean, it looked like a really good dive, but in the end, basically an even trade there, and Shen's healthy enough. He's going to be able to farm this top lane. Who do you think that favored overall?
I think it was good for Team TSM.Evo because it relieved a lot of jungle pressure for the bot lane, and they were able to, one, take the turret and do a lot of poke to prevent Ezreal from getting a lot of farm down here. So besides that trade, they were able to reestablish their dominance down to bot.
Yeah, well, I mean, they do, on the one hand, kind of reestablish their dominance. On the other hand, they don't have that tower there to deny CLG.EU from farm anymore, so it should be relatively safer for Ezreal to farm up. And Ezreal is actually catching up in farm, 127 now to Ashe. So at the beginning of the game it was like a 30 CS lead, and then it was 20, and now it's actually coming down. And he might catch up, while Ashe goes back here. Ashe waited in the brush for a long time, is now going to head on back, and Ezreal will come back up and will be about even if he grabs every single CS in this minion wave.
Yep, and I think the tower push might have been also in preparation for this dragon, which has come up again, and now TSM.Evo is starting it. Looks like CLG.EU isn't going to try to challenge it, and TSM.Evo takes that second dragon after destroying the vision ward that was here with their own vision ward.
Yeah, and that was a great job once again by TSM.Evo picking up that dragon. Of course, they had the timer on it. They took the first one. I don't know what exactly they did to Froggen to make him back middle, or whether they did anything, or he just happened to back at the wrong time. But previously, in the first time they took the dragon, they just kind of did a little bit of damage to him, just enough damage that they assumed that he wouldn't be able to come and defend to his utmost. So really good showing once again by TSM.Evo. They do hold the lead 5-3, and about 4,000 gold is in their favor, but there are things that could go very well for CLG.EU coming up. Primarily I'm referring to Kog'Maw's potential for poking people out, and I don't know when they want to wait and make this a game where they really are just going to push down turrets, poke away those turrets, and make it a one of those really turret-related battles where they have the poke advantage, undoubtedly. Certainly, the one thing against that poke composition is Ashe can use her arrow to initiate really, really well.
Yep, so we actually see Ashe coming over to mid a little bit before coming down bot, and we actually see Ezreal going with an interesting Bloodthirster first build. And a lot of times you see Ezreals go for the Trinity Force first, going from Sheen into Trinity Force.
A lot of aggressiveness down in middle, and it looks like, and nice play by Froggen picking up that Karthus. A lot of dancing around, using that cleanse to get out of the exhaust and then flashing out of the defile range and just being able to poke down Karthus. So a lot of summoners expelled between both teams. Have both used their full arsenal there. And Karthus, I figured, thought he could do enough damage to then kill Froggen with his ultimate, but was not able to get him low enough and decides to save the ultimate for another time.
Yep. So that is a kill for CLG.EU, and that should help them get back a little bit. Meanwhile, we see Shen coming up top to get a gank on this Kayle, and does get that taunt off, and they're doing some damage to her, but she uses that ultimate to get vulnerable and trying to turn it around on the Rumble. The ultimate coming out from Karthus isn't going to be able to be enough, and looks like both teams back off now. The Shen ultimate actually helping to save the Rumble with the shield.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like there's a large movement towards middle from bottom lane of TSM.Evo, so they're all grouping up. I don't know if they're going to take this turret. Obviously, Kog'Maw still does have the potential poke, and I think he can defend this turret pretty well, but he has reason to be afraid here.
Yep, and actually Ashe getting a lot of damage onto the turret despite Kog'Maw's poke. Kog'Maw choosing to be very careful right now, and meanwhile down at bot, Ezreal is trying to push down this bot tower while the TSM.Evo bot is away. Gets a little bit of damage on the tower before backing off, making sure Ashe loses that CS and making sure he's safe from Ashe. Although the Ghost coming out and he might be in a lot of trouble. Ashe doing a great job dodging those skill shots and gonna get a lot of damage on to using that ultimate to finish him off. Great job by Aphromoo. And now another battle going up top, taking a lot of damage is Kayle, and Kog'Maw actually takes down Olaf as well. So I'm gonna rewind this a little bit to take a look at this battle, and we see Kog'Maw coming up here, and the Kayle going down while Kog'Maw using that ultimate to take him out.
Yeah, so we're actually back even on kills, 6-6. Of course, TSM.Evo does still have the advantage gold-wise because they have 3 turrets to none, and they have 2 dragons to none. So really good job by them to pick up those objectives, not necessarily up in kills, but up in the objectives and the gold, which matters at the end of the day. Certainly, really great play by Aphromoo there. I was just generally you don't see a Ashe 1v1 Ezreal, but she was able to dodge so many skill shots that she didn't really need that much help from Janna, and then Janna was able to come in and ensure that there was no escape for that Ezreal, knocking him up with a whirlwind. But what we do have here now is we have Shen taking top, so kind of equalizing that gold, and we have the potential for Shen split pushing. He picked up that Owenic Spark, which of course got a recent buff. Wits End got a nerf, so it's a good pickup. Certainly for Shen. So he has that, and now they have the ability to push one lane and really just poke in another lane, and then Shen can of course ultimate in if they do get engaged upon with any sort of Ashe ultimate. But you can see they're specifically going for that poke comp in addition because they're running cleanse on both Kog'Maw and Ezreal. So if either of them get hit by that Ashe arrow, they're going to be able to just jump on away, use that cleanse, and then go about their own business. So certainly a great strategy. We haven't really seen the poke strategy come into effect quite yet.
And actually, Kog'Maw getting some pretty good poke on this Olaf, forcing Olaf to dance away a little bit. But Ashe and Janna are coming up towards mid. CLG.EU does see it with the ward, which Janna does destroy, but now it looks like they might get caught out a little bit. And actually, they do back off. Soraka was the only one on this side, so Soraka's actually going to get caught by that arrow and does die to the volley, and that gives another kill to TSM.Evo. Looked like Ashe and Janna were in trouble for a second, but they came out ahead in that fight.
Yeah, that was kind of unusual. It looks like CLG.EU wanted to pinch Ashe and Janna, then they decided, we're outnumbered. But Shen could have come down, could have ulted in on Soraka. I guess they were afraid that she potentially could get burst down before Shen could get into the battle. That's certainly a good concern that she could have had. But yeah, Soraka was kind of stuck in no man's land. Didn't even use Wish. Did use Flash, but it was at the last second, and flashed and immediately got hit by a volley, which took her down. So certainly, it looks like CLG.EU wants to, put to use their poke comp strategy here, but it would be nice if they had Soraka up with them. And yeah, there is a substantial amount of poke going out there, as we see both Olaf and Karthus at about half health already, just from the kind of preliminary poke from CLG.EU.
Yep, and Karthus looked to be going back, but is going to stay. Some more poke going down, and actually getting a lot of damage, but Kog'Maw getting caught out a little bit, using that cleanse to get away, so he is safe, and is still putting out some more poke. Shen, meanwhile, is top lane, again, trying to use that split push poke comp to great effect.
Yeah, and what we saw in the previous game where CLG.EU got Shen is they used that split push comp and they were very patient about it, but it just got to a point where Shen actually started out-leveling the solo lanes of the opposition because he could keep on split pushing and do such a great job. Oh, middle lane, Rumble getting poked down there, but Ashe will have to back off eventually.
Yep, getting him down to below half health, but around below half health, but Ezreal came to help, and Ashe did have to back off too. So not much action, a lot of poke going out though from either side, with Ashe putting out some good poke while Kog'Maw and Ezreal do a good job poking as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because previously CLG.EU, poked down the opposition and really got them to a point where, they could have gotten a free dragon, but they decided to not go for the dragon. Dragon still remains up, and they're really just pushing down on this middle turret, which makes sense. This seems to be what their team was made to do. Just keep on poking the mid turret, keep on poking. They do see Kayle coming down towards middle. They know she's coming. They're like, okay, well, she is coming. Let's back off here. Let's let Shen push on his own for a little while, push that lane up once again, and then we can, re-engage our poke strat composition. Because not only are they allowing Shen to farm alone, but they're kind of ensuring that TSM.Evo doesn't get incredibly more farmed because they're maintaining them in that one single lane. So Ashe has actually pulled ahead in farm, but I think Ashe has been taking a lot of the farm middle, whereas Karthus probably has not been. Karthus is about 20 behind Kog'Maw now.
And Ashe comes out, misses everybody as TSM.Evo takes that dragon. Actually the equalizer coming out, but and the Ezreal ult comes out as well, so they got them very low, and a fight is breaking out now, but really it's almost just like an extended poke battle rather than an actual fight, as they just try to get a little bit of damage on without actually engaging.
Yeah, and really great job by Ashe there, doing damage there. Oh my goodness, the chunking down from Kog'Maw. I really thought in the initial stages, CLG had such a huge advantage. Not that they were going to be able to kill anyone, but they were going to force everyone back and probably going to be able to take down a turret. And now they're back to chunking people down. Salsa getting really, really low.
And actually, might not even almost pick up this kill, but Karthus is able to get back far enough, and that is the power of this AP Cog, able to poke down and do a lot of damage from a very long distance.
Right, and they have Soraka as well, so they're going to be able to sit on this turret and just, continue waiting. What is the cooldown on the ultimate from Rumble? It does not seem to be too much longer now, so once that's back up in 20 seconds, they're going to have a really great initiate strategy here. So they get that turret, just because of that poke strategy. I'm not certain if they're going to head bottom or just let Shen clear the bottom. Of course, he's using that Ionic Spark to clear that wave really fast. And he actually picked up, components for Randuin's Omen, but it looks like he's going to build Wit's End first, would be my guess. That's the reason I can think of, reason to buy another recurve bow. Of course, it does help him clear waves. Oh, but they do see Shen bottom. They probably know that everyone was going back, and it looks like they might rush Baron here. TSM.Evo rushing the Baron.
Yep, and Karthus is very good at doing Baron, and they should be able to actually do this very quickly. Baron going down very fast. Ezreal uses his ultimate, but it looks like TSM.Evo does take that Baron. The ult comes out as Rumble uses Equalizer, and Rumble trying to get away, but is taking a lot of damage and does fall.
Yeah, so on the one hand, it was really great move by by CLG.EU to take down that turret, really uncontested, but then they lost Baron, which is certainly not something you want to do, especially against a team that, they might outmatch you in pure battle, but you might outpoke them. You don't want to give a poke, or the defender of a poke team, Baron buff, just because it gives them so much regen that it makes, Kog'Maw's attacks, much less effective. That extended poke battle that much less effective against their team. So we do see, CLG.EU going to defend this turret. It looks like TSM.Evo will back off for now, but what are they going to do with that Baron buff? On the one hand, it is really frustrating to try to poke or try to get a turret down against such a great poke team that CLG.EU has, but on the other hand, they might feel like they can just completely overrun them, tower dive, use that Kayle ultimate, have Karthus go on in there and just go to town and just really force a battle before they get poked low. What do you think the best strategy at this point is, Zero?
For TSM.Evo, you mean?
Yes.
I mean, it's a matter of if they can manage to get a good Ash Arrow off. That could really just decide the fight right there, because that will give them the hard engage that they want. That'll allow Karthus to get into position, that'll allow Olaf to go in there, and it'll really just help them to have an actual team fight. And especially with the Baron buff that they have, and they are pretty strong right now, so they should be able to win that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do see the Wit's End picked up by Shen, and it's going to be tricky. The one thing about Shen, I mean, I love him as a champion. He's always, I mean, since his rework, he's been so strong, and his shield is only 850 health, which is a lot, but if a person is caught out and is really caught out of position, the opposing team can do enough damage to, you know, essentially kill them, burst them through that shield, and Shen will then not teleport. So you have to be very careful about that. The other thing, Kayle seems to still be able to handle him 1v1.
The Rumble ultimate comes out, and they're trying to catch somebody here, but they're going to be forced to back off now. The Karthus, I believe, took that blue buff. Yes, he did. Is pretty low, and no engage there. Shen is down at bot once again, as is Kayle, and Kayle is actually pushing this tower.
Yeah, Kayle actually just dove him, turned on her ultimate, tried to get the kill off on Shen. And that's what I was saying. Shen, you know, is a great split pusher, but unfortunately at this point, he's not strong enough to 1v1 everyone. And so if he can't 1v1 everyone, he can't split push alone, or he'll, you know, get chunked down by Kayle like he did, and Kayle was actually able to split push against him. So actually give his team the advantage there. Get another turret, and they were able to put a little bit of damage on this middle turret as well.
Yep, actually an Ash Arrow came out and caught Ezreal, but he does have that cleanse, so he was able to cleanse out of it and Arcane Shift away, so no engage there. And really, I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, the two cleanses on the CLG.EU has been really useful. Kog'Maw and Ezreal using those cleanses to prevent an engagement from actually happening so they can keep poking down.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like they'll probably just try to wait out this Baron buff. Obviously, that would be ideal for them. Kind of an interesting strategy, a split push strategy being used by TSM.Evo. They're sending Kayle bottom, but of course Kayle can't jump up towards the battle like Shen can. I guess I feel like it's close enough that Kayle can probably run into the battle without losing too much time. But I also feel like they're probably, you know, figuring, okay, well, they have a poke comp team. They're not going to engage on us with their poke comp team while we have Baron, and that's probably a good point.
Yep, so Kayle actually doing a very good job down bottom, using the split push strategy herself and turning it on Shen. But yeah, I mean, their Baron buff has just run out, so they do not have that anymore. So we'll see if they decide to group up, or they decide to keep Kayle down bot even without Baron buff. But TSM.Evo has done a good job since getting that Baron to really turn the fight into pushing towers on this side of the map.
Yeah, and oh wow, the Ash Arrow comes out, does miss everyone, so no damage going to be going down there. They probably saw Kog'Maw up top and were like, okay, well, we want to engage here. Unfortunately, the Ash Arrow misses. Kog'Maw will probably make his way back middle. Ooh, Ezreal was kind of caught out, but he will be okay.
Yep, the Rumble ultimate comes out to try to prevent TSM.Evo from taking this tower, and now Aframu might be in a little bit of trouble, taking a lot of damage, and he is forced to back off. Now TSM.Evo is on the run. The Shurelios comes out from the Soraka, but they're trying to get back, and now Karthus is dead, so he's going to go in there and try to do as much damage as possible. His ultimate's coming out, and how many people will be able to pick up? Only one on Soraka, and a fight breaks out now, and TSM.Evo is doing a great job, and Aframu in particular is doing a great job using that damage, but the Kog'Maw doing so much damage with his ultimate, picking off Aframu, and now they are on the chase. They won that battle 3-2 amidst all the chaos, and now they're going to try to push down even more, and we'll see if they can do anything with this battle 1.
Yeah, that was a little crazy. It looked like Ash was going to get away, and then that final living artillery comes down, does pick up the kill. Looks like they're going to grab this dragon. Unfortunately, they're not healthy enough to push down any turrets either. But yeah, those extended team fights certainly do favor the poke composition team. The other thing that went wrong, of course, for TSM.Evo was. Now, Karthus got chunked down really, really rapidly. He did get that Kale ultimate on him while he was at very low health and did do a lot of damage because of it. But, I think had he been at full health all along, it would have been more effective. And they didn't really get to have the fight on their terms. The fight was, really dictated by CLG.EU, kind of engaged and slowly poked them down and then chased them down and eventually came out with a little bit of a lead. I mean, they are still down 9 kills to 10. They're down about 6,000 gold. They lost the last Baron. They should know when the next Baron is coming up, so I suspect they will put in a greater fight for that one. The last one was kind of snuck away from them, as it were. But will they, try to focus a fight around Baron, or will they try to push down middle and do the split push thing that they've kind of been, apt to do? We do see Shen, picking up more and more items, getting more and more farm. Has that Ionic Spark, Wit's End, Randwood's Omen, and another Chainmail Vest, so maybe he feels like he can trade with Kale now. We'll see. I feel like it does get to a point where Shen can 1v1 just about any champion in the game, provided he has all of his items.
Yep, and Shen still has that Oracles that he had from the very beginning, hasn't died yet, so that Oracle is a very good investment, allowing him to clear wards basically throughout the entire game so far.
Yeah, I mean, actually, look at the kills. 0-4 Rumble, 0-4 Soraka, but 2-0 Kog'Maw, 4-0, or 2-0 Shen, 4-0 Kog'Maw. So really, they played a great defensive game. It looks like Kog'Maw's almost gone down a number of times, but survived. And especially when you're playing against Karthus, because there's I feel like you can never be like, oh, we almost got them. When you have a Karthus, you have a champion that's supposed to solve that we almost got them issue. You can't be like, oh, we ulted them and we almost got them. So we do see Aphromote hiding behind these trees here, probably lining up for an arrow. There it is. The arrow does come down, but it is cleansed off.
Yep, and actually a fight is trying to break out as TSM.Evo does try to engage, and now Rumble getting very low is going to actually do a very good job in getting away, but Big Fat doing a good job of, not Big Fat, sorry, Froggen doing a good job using that Kog'Maw ultimate to really do a lot of damage in that battle, and Soraka does fall to the Kale, and that is a 2-for-2 trade, so... but it looks like TSM.Evo has the advantage here, as the Ezreal is very low, and now they're just taking that tower, and is probably going to get this inhibitor tower as well.
And it looks like Kale still has Ignite and their ultimate up. I'm not sure if it came up in the middle of that fight. I think it should have been up beforehand, but didn't use it really to save everyone. I don't know if they came into that battle a little bit late, but they still have that advantage if they wanted to dive in on anyone. Instead, they're going to just take this inhibitor and just back on out of there. So that is certainly a good exchange for them. The team fight, just on its own, didn't seem to be so heavily in their favor, but in the end, they pick up an inhibitor, and a turret and an inhibitor, and now Baron is up. And I feel like they have a bigger advantage when the fight takes place away from turrets. At the turrets, the poke composition really is effective, but when all the battles are going to happen, at a Baron or kind of in the woods, I think the team with the intent to engage has an advantage. And not only do they have ultimates in store, they still have Ghost on Olaf. They still have Ghost and Flash on Ashe. Her ultimate's back up. Kale's ultimate's back up. Kale has Flash and Ignite and their ultimate. So really the only thing they're lacking at this point is Karthus' ultimate. But they're just about ready to go back into battle. And they do have Flash down on Ezreal. They have Ghost down on Shen. They have Cleanse down on Kog'Maw, so they have the Summoner spell advantage at this point, and I suspect that they know it, and they probably feel like they've been winning these fights, so we'll likely see another battle